Hello, Leafs fans. This is episode 2 of season 3, and I'm recording this on September 15th, which is a Thursday, and the Leafs have a prospect game tonight, which is kind of cool. Uh Hopefully it's televised, and hopefully we get to see some hockey. I'm excited to see a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey on the ice, to be honest with you. But yeah, one thing from last week's episode, episode 1 of season 3, I was going through the current NHL UFA list, and I came by the name of Zach Aston Reese, and I said he would be the type of player I would like to see on the Leafs' fourth line. He's someone the Leafs should take a flyer on, and guess what? Guess who signs a PTO with the Leafs? Zach Aston Reese. So that's good. That's good news. Uh, I believe the Leafs signed Joseph Blandisi and Zach Aston Reese, and there's another guy on a PTO. So PTO season has officially started. Um, I think I saw a list of PTOs that were reported here. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, here we go. Vancouver Canucks signed Danny DeKaiser to a PTO, Leafs Zach Aston Reese, St. Louis Tyler Pitlick, Seattle Daniel Sprong, San Jose's Scott Harrington, good young defenseman. Surprised he's unsigned. The New York Rangers are taking another flyer on Jimmy Vesey, who's I don't see a future for him in the NHL. New Jersey Thomas Hickey, Zach Sinishin, and Ottawa's got Derek Brassard and Michael Del Cole. So there's a few more. LA Kings have Nate Thompson. The Florida Panthers have Andrew Hammond and Eric Stahl. Edmonton Oilers have Justin Bailey. Columbus Blue Jackets have Ben Harper, James Neal, Victor Rask. I'm actually surprised Victor Rask is unsigned. He seems to be the kind of guy, in the right situations, he could definitely put the puck in the net. Um, I am actually surprised. Carolina Hurricanes have Kelvin DeHaan, Derek Stepan. Calgary Flames have Cody Eakin and Michael Stone. And I believe Michael Stone already had a stint in Calgary. And Arizona, Alex Chason, former Leaf goalie Chris Gibson, Anaheim, Nathan Bayou. So there's a lot of PTOs going around. It's crazy what the flat cap has done to jobs in the NHL. I mean, you know, the flat cap is ruining the NHL. If the business side of the NHL starts to stagnate, forget about COVID. Let's say COVID never happened and everything was great. Eventually, there comes a time where the NHL starts to stagnate, where they stop producing more and more revenue, and then all of a sudden the cap kind of tails off, but people want more and more money. Like, let's say Matthews on his next deal goes from 11.6 to 12.5, and McDavid goes from, he could be at the same cap percentage, uh, on a higher cap. But if the cap doesn't go up, let's say he goes, 12.5 isn't enough for the best player in the NHL. Maybe I want 13 or 13.5. People start getting left off of rosters. And like the names that I just read out right now, these are all NHLers. They could Danny DeKaiser, I mean Zach Aston Reese, Daniel Sprong, Scott Harrington, Victor Rask, Derek Stepan, Calvin DeHaan. These are all guys who could play in the NHL definitely, but there's a salary cap that limits how much you can spend, and it's ending careers early. And some of that comes from getting paid too much and not producing, and they got to leave you off the roster. But you know this flat cap is ending careers. um it's crazy. So, moving on to a different topic, talking about the Leafs goaltending. Now that training camp is getting closer, I've seen clips here and there of people talking about the Leafs goaltending, and there's two clips that I want to talk about in general. There's one from TSN's Overdrive with Brian Hayes, Noodles, and Frankie Corrado. And there's another one. I'm going to pull up the clip and we're going to talk about it. Now, some of this stuff is warranted. Some of the stuff makes sense. Some of the stuff doesn't. And then you get to hear what's going on. Not what's going on. You get to hear the difference in Toronto. And this is where you get to hear the difference between what the media is talking about, what they say publicly, and what they don't say publicly. So,
Do you kind of off air?
first, okay, so I'm going to put this video up first. We'll take a listen, and then I'm going to chat about it a little bit.
Yesterday, Hayes, and I got a different reaction, which I kind of thought. I was like, oh, that's weird, because I think they're a very good team, and I think they're having a good season and all of that type of stuff. But it's like, people are like, who's stopping pucks? It keeps coming back to the goaltenders, right?
So this is pretty much a very common take. Yes, the Leafs are going to have a good season, but who's going to stop the pucks? So here's my problem with what how the media keeps repeating that. Leafs are going to have a great season. They're going to make the playoffs, but who's going to stop the pucks? If you're telling me that the Leafs are going to have a great season and they're going to make the playoffs, what does it matter? Who stops the pucks? It could be my grandfather. It could be your grandfather. It could be the Zamboni driver. Who cares who's stopping the pucks? If you're telling me the Leafs are going to have a great season and they're going to make the playoffs and that's your expectation, what does it matter who stops the pucks? See, this is where you need to open and listen to what they're saying. It doesn't make any sense. Sometimes the criticism is fair, sometimes the criticism is warranted, and sometimes it's not. Right now, they're trying to have a discussion about who's going to stop the pucks. Who cares? You just told me you all agree that the Leafs are going to have a great season and make the playoffs.
Like just a giant question mark.
You know
right?
what's funny? I was on the phone with the Tat Man today, and we were talking about the Leafs schedule for this year, and we're going to be doing the games again, pre and post. And I said, Tatty, is it weird that as the summer has gone on, there hasn't been any hockey played, there hasn't been any news, but I'm like coming around or talking myself into the idea that one of these goaltenders, or maybe both of them, are going to play well for the Leafs this year?
Both of them. You're putting money on both of them playing well this year.
No.
One thing Brian Hayes always does is he says something where he doesn't look like a homer and he doesn't get radioed later. So he's like, what, you think both of these guys are going to be good? No, he says, I think one of these guys might be really good for the Leafs. And if you're telling me, like you guys are going to keep saying the Leafs are going to have a great season regardless, well, if the Leafs are going to have a great season and make the playoffs, If they're going to be a top 5 team in the NHL again, somebody has to step up and make the saves. So it's either Murray or Samsonov. But Brian Hayes says, really? You're going to make that bet?
No. Is it
You're coming
weird that I'm
around.
coming around to the idea
I
that
see.
they could both be good options for the Leafs? Nothing's
here-
happened. No one's played any games, but I don't know why I'm like warming up to it now.
Okay.
Well, here's why I could say people could believe in that, is because how many times last year did we watch a
By the way, now I know the way this is framed. It says Murray and Samsonov have a combined 900, and Campbell and the other guys had a combined 904. Campbell's numbers weren't all that great. He had 2 months where he was really good, and then a bunch of mediocre months. But Mrazek was up and down. There was times where he was making good saves and winning games, and then he was injured, and then he was letting in bad goals. But I think like Wall and Hutchinson didn't really play a lot. I don't know why their names are there. Yes, they were in net for 1 or 2 games, but they weren't really around for a long time. Shelgren, who played a lot of games and played decent, even though his stats weren't amazing, I think is Shelgren pulls up Mrazek's stats, and then Campbell kind of puts him over 900. But this is a key graphic that shows you the Leafs goaltending was hot garbage last year, and they were fifth best in the NHL with a good power play, good penalty kill, and they had a 1 goal lead in game 6 and had Tampa on the brink of elimination and lost by 1 goal in game 7. Yes, 1000% the Leafs are losing in the playoffs because of goaltending. For people to say goaltending is not the problem, yes, 1000% goaltending is the problem. It's not goal scoring. Goal scoring only takes you so far. Like, you need a save. You need one more save than the other guy. And Campbell choked against Montreal, and he choked against Tampa.
game where we were like, yeah, the goaltending wasn't that good, but they won. They won 6-4. They won 5-3.
Yeah.
This team has the
They won
ability in the
6-4. They
regular
won 5-3.
season.
Not because of
It's
great
like,
goaltending.
yeah, whatever it takes that night, they will get it done.
Yeah.
So, Shalgren, there were nights
Man,
where
we
I wasn't believing what the hell was going on there.
We talked up Shelgren some nights where it's like, yeah, the kid was just, he was square at every puck. Like, we're talking about how good Shelgren played. Like, this guy's name,
4-goal lead.
This guy's name should never exit my mouth when I'm talking about the Maple Leafs this year, right?
But
Like, he shouldn't even be there.
Point is, like, Joe from the Bridge is now trying to manipulate the stats with the boards. Where what Joe
You
from the
see
Bridge
that?
wants.
Put that board
Put that
back up again,
there.
please.
I love
what
this.
is he doing?
This is the beauty of Joe from the Bridge.
Thank
what
you,
he
Joe.
wants you to
Thank
see,
you.
what he wants you to see is 904 Toronto goalies, Murray, Samsonov 900 combined last year, right?
Well,
Which, I mean, those are factual numbers, but the Leafs, Mrazek was an absolute disaster. Shalgren, Wall was playing, Hutchinson, Campbell
Hutch,
had a
baby.
month and a half, 2 months where it really was really off the rails.
Yeah.
That's like 904 is not good. Like, that's not a good number. It's that the Leafs had so much offensive ability and they have depth on defense and they can help. And that will be continued. But, the collective 900, the fact that you've downgraded statistically, I don't think it's selling what maybe some people think it's selling.
Yeah, I don't know, because for me, like, the longer that time has gone on in the summer and we haven't talked about it and no news has happened, it's almost like this narrative has played out in my head where it's like, man, like, what if they can get Matt Murray back on track? What if they get that guy who won the Stanley Cups? And then with Samsonov, it's like, you talk to people and Noodles, you talk to goal.
So I think what they're saying is correct, and it's on point. But here's the thing: when you compare Murray at 900 and you compare Jack Campbell at 900, you got to understand that one guy was playing on a rebuilding team that left him out to dry on most nights. We're playing defense. And Campbell was on a team that was top five power play, top five penalty kill, and was scoring goals, clutch goals. The Leafs had a guy who scored 51 goals in 50 games. What Campbell put up is not comparable to what Murray put up. That's why my personal belief is that Freddie Anderson was the guy in Toronto, and he's better than all these guys you're going to bring in, because what Freddie was doing on a rebuilding team. Go look at the stats. No, no, no. Go look at the roster. The defenseman in front of Freddie when the Leafs played Washington in the playoffs, if you look at those defensemen that they put in those games, you would vomit in your mouth. You would dry heave immediately looking at that defense core. Freddie Anderson put up 3,940 games against the Washington Capitals in their prime. In their prime. Washington Capitals in their prime. This guy put up 3,940 games against the Washington Capitals in the first round. It's that if I'm comparing Murray and another goalie, and they both put up 900 save percentages and played exactly the same amount of games and faced the same amount of shots, they had the same amount of minutes on ice, same, games started, wins, losses, everything. If everything is the same, to me, the guy who played on the shit team that left him out to dry on a nightly basis, where this guy was facing 2-on-1s multiple times a period, he was getting passes going right across his crease and tapped in backdoor. When I see that, and then I see a 900, and then I see a guy on a much better team where that wasn't happening to him on a nightly basis, I look at the guy who put up the 900 on the shit team and I say, this guy made better high danger percentage higher high danger percentage chances. Like if you look at Jack Campbell's high danger chances, his save percentage on high danger chances is horrible. But Murray's is not, because he's faced more and made more saves. I think it's worth noting that two guys who put up same goals against, relatively the same goals against and save percentage. One guy's on a horrible team and one guy's on the Leafs, top five in the NHL. I give it to the guy who's on the shittier team.
Goalie people around the league, goalie coaches, and I have a few contacts. I reach out, and the sentiment that I got is like, tools are there. Tools are there. Yeah. He's a pretty exciting young goalie. It's just he's got to put it together. So I'm like, okay, like is this gonna happen? Is one of these guys gonna hit?
I understand that. But
I'm from two schools here, because you're right. Samsonov, been talking to people that worked with him, people that know him. The tools are there, and there's still lots of runway. I think he just turned 26, so he's.
This is one other thing to remember. I was actually very excited when the Leafs signed Samsonov, because I was looking into Ville Husso at the same time, and I was like, go out and get a young goaltender who has some experience but still has a high ceiling and has more potential. And, the Leafs haven't done that in a long time. Brought in a really young goalie. I think the last time they brought in a young goalie with pedigree was Freddie Anderson. I think when the Leafs traded for him, he was like 25 years old or something like that. And he had a lot of pedigree. He's from Denmark. He comes from a place where they develop goalies. And he had one of Jennings taking over the season from Gibson in Anaheim. The guy had all the pedigree, and then he came to Toronto and put up great stats. So this is something to keep in mind. The Leafs are paying Samsonov 1.8 million. He's in net. He's going to play on a better team. The Washington Capitals were up and down a lot last year. They weren't very consistent, but the guy played, Samsonov played 42 games and he won a decent amount, and they were a playoff team.
He's a young, he's in goalie terms, he's a young goaltender coming into his own. And again, I come back to it. He's going to play on a good team. Now, Washington was a good team, but they had some inconsistencies here or there. It was Matt Murray that the wheels fell off. But I think we all predicted it. He was going to Ottawa to start a rebuild. Like they were literally with, Eric Carlson's traded out, going to let the kids play and just kind of, I think we all said the first 18 months for Matt Murray was going to be a disaster statistically. But it also statistically was a disaster, but physically.
Noodles just said it. We knew he was going to go to Ottawa and they were going to let the kids play, and it was going to be a disaster statistically. So to come on television and talk about the guy's stats and saying, his stats weren't good, how's he going to play in Toronto? You just told me you knew he was going to have garbage stats on a rebuilding team. So, two things from this. One, they're saying the Leafs are going to have a great season and make the playoffs, but who's going to stop the puck? Contradictory. Two, there's Noodles is saying most people knew Murray got 6.4 million. He got overpaid a little bit because he was going into a rebuild and they were going to light him up and his stats weren't going to be great. But then they say his stats are no good. How is he going to play in Toronto? Very contradictory.
It was too. He was hurt.
Yep.
I don't even know if he was available to the team the last 23 or 26 games of the season last year.
Yeah.
Like he.
So here's one thing. I don't know if Leaf fans can remember from last season, but when the games got a little out of hand and the Leafs weren't good defensively and they were giving up prime shots and the goalies had to stretch out a lot, there was injuries in Toronto last year. Mrazek did the splits, ruined his groin. Why? Because the Leafs weren't paying attention towards the end of the period. One-timer happens, this guy sprawls across, makes the save, destroys his groin. So to say one guy is injury prone, he can't play, no. Mrazek kept getting hurt because he was all over the place in Toronto. He was sliding this way, sliding that way. He was 10 feet out of the net. He's all over the place. And then Campbell started having some issues too. When he started playing too many games and he wasn't used to it, he started dealing with some injury trouble too. So here's the thing about Matt Murray. He's a guy who platooned with Marc-Andre Fleury during the regular season. Marc-Andre Fleury actually played some postseason games in the playoffs, and then Matt Murray took over. So he's not really one of those guys that, like Freddie Anderson played 60 games this season. He comes over to Ottawa. It's a rebuild. They're leaving him out to dry. He's diving all over. He's doing the splits. He's playing a lot more games than he's used to. And guess what? He's injured all the time. Duh. I could already tell you before he signed this contract in Ottawa, if he's going to Ottawa and he's going to play on a rebuild, this guy's going to be injured constantly. Because, there's not that many goalies in the NHL. Look at Vasilevsky, look at Shesterkin. They play a lot of games. They're very athletic. But most goalies, when they're moving all over the place and they're sliding, they can't handle that. Their bodies can't handle that. Playing 50, 60 games a year. It's a very, very select few goalies who can do that. That's why platooning is a thing. That's why platooning is real in the NHL. Because, you can pay a lot of money for your starting goaltender and your star goaltender. One time he does the splits and his groin is gone, you're dead. What are you going to do? So, being hurt all the time is a symptom of playing on a bad team, having to make too many saves.
He only played like 20 games last year. So, he's coming to a different situation. But you're going from a team that's in a rebuild and the expectations are, hey, let the kids play, let's see how it goes, to a team that has probably some of the highest expectations.
They have to. Like, it's the same discussion every single year, but you have to win. And I think that's what is tripping me up here is we're talking, hey, can Murray and Samsonov do it in the regular season? It's like regular season. It's Jim Mora in reverse.
Okay, so that's pretty much that. Now we're going to go to another interview. Nick Kyprios. This is some wild stuff.
Will be enough that even if he lets in 2 or 3 of those guys, go get you 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. So Campbell goes to Edmonton. They sign him to a contract. He's getting $5 million, right? In Edmonton.
We said that from November. We told people that price went between 5 and 6 million. People were crazy, telling us we're nuts, and there's still people believing that 5 million's nuts for Jack Campbell, and there's others that say, hey, take a look at other $5 million goalies around the league. It's not nuts.
Well, did the Maple Leafs make a mistake by letting them go? Because they wouldn't pay the $5 million, and they wind up with Murray and Samsonov instead.
It's not that they wouldn't pay the $5 million. They can't. There's just no wiggle room.
So, Nick Kyprios says it's not that the Leafs won't pay $5 million a year. It's that they can't. There's no wiggle room. Apparently, Nick Kyprios can't do any math. So, let's add up Samsonov's 1.8 million and add Murray's 4.6. That gets you 6.4 million in total. That's how much the Leafs are paying for goaltending. 6.4 million currently right now, Samsonov and Murray. Now, if you take Campbell at 5 and add Samsonov at 1.8, what does that get you? 6.8. So Kyprios is saying the Leafs can't when one duo would cost 6.8 and the other duo currently costs 6.4. It's a $400,000 difference. That's how stupid some of these people are on television that talk about hockey who they in real time don't understand what they're saying. It's some real stupidity. 400,000. The Leafs couldn't make $400,000 work
here, and at the end of the day, if Matt Murray doesn't work out, boys, he's going on long-term disability, and you'll wash the contract. It's that simple.
So he just says the Leafs couldn't pay Campbell $5 million because there's no wiggle room. But I just told you there's only a $400,000 difference between a tandem of Campbell and Samsonov and Murray and Samsonov. But then he goes, if Murray doesn't play well, they're just going to put it on LTIR, which opens up $4.6 million. But they can't make $400 million.
They weren't going to lock in a $5 million for 5 years to Jack Campbell, and they were going to be in a position where there was no flexibility. Jack Campbell's still a gamble. There's no question he's still a gamble, and it's a big gamble for Edmonton, but one they're willing to make. I think he's come a long way. I think he's in a small window here where he can compete and be very good, as he proved as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Can he get Edmonton over the hump? And if he doesn't, will he be blamed? Can Holland be blamed for giving that contract? Those are all legitimate questions. But right now, there's no question that Edmonton would feel a lot better. Edmonton fans feel a lot better about their goaltending situation than Leaf fans do today.
But Bob's point right off the top, 3 different starting goalies in 3 years. This speaks now that heck, what Freddie Anderson should still be here somehow, some way. But they grew sour on him too.
Yeah,
and so this. mean, those guys are all people we talk to that we view them as friends, but this just reeks of absolute pure panic that we can't last a year and then we got to change the goalies again.
Yeah, and it really stems, John, to the fact that once again you're locked into a hard salary cap. It didn't go up.
Yep, hard salary cap, and it didn't go up. 100%. Look at Colorado. Colorado won a Stanley Cup, and they lost their starting goaltender in free agency. And now who's their starting goaltender? Georgiev. Whoa. I don't know what the chances are. I don't know if Las Vegas has put out the odds on them repeating yet, or who's going to win the Stanley Cup. But Georgiev, no way. If Colorado can go into the season and try to win a Stanley Cup with Georgiev, the Leafs can definitely start the season with Samsonov and Matt Murray and try to make something work. I think it's possible because Georgiev is as big a question mark as anybody we got in Toronto. Yeah. So, as I alluded to at the beginning of this episode, there is a rookie tournament kicking off tonight in Traverse City, Michigan. And the Leafs are, where is it? Let's pull up this roster. There she is. Okay. So, a few things right off the bat. Um, I'm sure us as Leaf fans, we'd be super excited to see some NCAA players like Matthew Nyes in here. But, and some European prospects as well. But their seasons have already, school has already started for NCAA, and hockey has already started overseas. There's actually already some updates on Leafs prospects who have already played 1 or 2 games. Let me see if I can find those updates. Right here, Kyle Cushman. He had an update. Slava Peksa started for Bars Kazan in a 5-1 win over Omsky, stopping 32 out of 33 shots in the process. He's now up to a .959 save percentage and a 2-0-2 record in 3 starts, 4 appearances. Not bad. Not bad. Roni Hirvonen was second line left wing for HIFK in a 5-2 loss against Tapara. Took a cross-checking penalty, had 5 shots on net, and finished with a -1 in 12:31 total ice time. Not great start for Roni Hirvonen. Nikita Grebyonkin, dressed with Metallurg, did not play a shift for the second time this season. Why you dressing the kid, bro? And there was, yeah, that's about it. That's about it. So yeah, there's already some guys playing overseas. NCAA Player School has started, so they won't be at this tournament. But then Leafs do have Nick Abruzzese, who played some NHL games last year. Alex Steves, who played in the NHL last year. Nick Robertson, who played in the NHL last year. Guys, I'm excited to see SDA, Nick Robertson, Gogolev, Curtis Douglas. I don't know if you guys have heard of Curtis Douglas yet. But I don't know if you guys know how tall and big this guy is. This guy is a monster. He could easily be the Leafs' fourth line center and just wreck people, ruin people. He's excited. So Curtis Douglas, you're gonna see him. If they televise these games, you're just gonna notice a giant amongst these guys. You're just gonna see this man. I think he's 6'7", 6'8". He's huge. And his offensive production was very surprising in the AHL last year, and even the coaches were talking about it. Like, we're surprised at how much he was able to produce. So Curtis Douglas, keep an eye on him. Ty Voigt, Alex Steves, obviously. Fraser Minton. I'm interested to see how he plays. I think somebody tweeted out that the practice for the Leafs, when the young guys were practicing, they had Robertsons and Steves on the same line, so it could be interesting. On defense, Alex Rendell, William Villeneuve, Philip Kroll, and Mikko Kokonen for sure. I'm really excited about Mikko Kokonen. Him and Kroll could be with the Leafs in a couple of years. And, I think, what was it? I was looking at the Leafs cap situation, and they have a handful of contracts, maybe 4 or 5 signed when Matthews becomes a free agent, or that's the summer where Matthews becomes a free agent. They only have like 3 or 4 contracts on the books, and that's obviously on purpose because you want all the money available to sign Matthews. But that 2 year window is going to be where you see a lot of these guys come. You're going to see Matthew Nyes on a rookie contract. You're going to see hopefully a couple of these defensemen, and Nick Robertson's going to be hopefully an NHLer on a entry level contract. Alex Steves, Curtis Douglas, Nick Abruzzi. I mean, like, the Leafs could be going into that year with a lot of young, talented players making decent contributions on really low budget contracts. So it's going to be interesting. Yes. Hopefully these games are televised. I have not seen anything that tells me where if they're going to be on TV or if they're going to be streamed or whatever. Hopefully they will be. Um, I'm going to try to get that information for you guys and put that out either on my Twitter or on my website. Um, but yeah, man, I'm super excited to see the Leafs jersey on the ice again. It's it's getting to be about that time. Um, I am super excited. Hockey is coming back. Players are in town. Physicals are going to get underway next week. I believe, yeah, physicals get on. You do physicals and medicals next week, and training camp starts. First game for the Leafs in preseason is September 28th. And we're almost there, man. We're almost there. We're gonna get it. Yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are on the rookie camp roster. Is there anybody missing? Should there be anybody's the Leafs maybe should have invited to this camp that was not signed, but maybe they're looking at some young guys that are available, undrafted players. So let me know what you think. Let me know how excited you guys are for the season to start. And what do you guys think about all this nonsense these people are saying about the Leafs goaltending situation? I mean, I think based on what was available on the market, which is Bubkus, there was nothing available on the market, nothing available in the trade market. I mean, look, Colorado didn't trade for a goalie, and I mean, they did trade, but there was nothing available out there. And they went and got Georgiev. If the Stanley Cup champions can't attract or trade or sign a free agent goalie, then what do you think the Leafs were going to do? I mean, you have to be realistic at some point. If there were big names available and the Leafs didn't go hunting, then that's one thing. But for no one to be available and the Leafs end up with what they got, I think they did pretty good. So let me know your thoughts. What's up, puppy? Okay, have a good day, and we'll see you next week on next week's episode. Please like and share and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you.